Hello and welcome to another episode in our e-learning series. With us today we have Mr. Peter England, who has accumulated years of experience working in the insurance services industry, with particular interest on professional indemnity insurance, on which we will be speaking about today. It's a pleasure to welcome you with us today, Mr.
Hello,
England.
and thank you for your introduction as well. As you well said, I've been specializing in professional indemnity insurance since 2001, so since then both our experience locally and also abroad, because it's easier to achieve your knowledge from abroad than locally. During this period we've managed to specialize and focus entirely on medical malpractice insurance.
And what can you tell us about medical malpractice insurance by definition?
Right, as in any professional indemnity insurance, all professionals are there to deliver their service in the best possible way, with the aim of giving 100% into the business, right? And that is where insurance comes into the picture. So we are there to give our 100% in our profession. And if you have a bad day, if you're really stressed out, you miss on something and something really goes wrong, that's where professional indemnity insurance comes into the picture to cover your back. If something goes wrong and you are sued for a negligence, for a mistake in the performance of your duty, insurance will come in to make good for that mistake that has been performed during your duty. Now, the insurance will not only respond to an award to the patient, but it will also respond to the legal expenditure in the case. Now, not every case could lead to court. There is a tendency that if we all know that there is a mistake in a particular scenario, an out-of-court settlement can be achieved. But yes, if it goes to court, even the legal expenses will be covered under the policy.
And going into a more technical point of view, how does it operate? Imagine there's an incident, what do you do from there?
Okay, I have to start a bit before that. Mm-hmm. Right, a professional indemnity insurance operates on a claims-made basis. Now, this is different to any kind of general business, if it's a motor or home, where in a motor accident you had an incident, you had a crash, you went to your insurance, opened a claim, got the car repaired. No, it doesn't work that way. It works on a claims-made basis. Now, what does this mean? It's important to explain that in order to have a professional indemnity insurance to be engaged in the claim, on the date the malpractice actually occurred and when the claim actually comes to light to the patient, on both dates the policy must be active. So let's say you start a policy today, okay? And within 2-3 months' time a case comes to light. What's important is not only the date when the case comes to light, but when the mistake, when the negligence, when the malpractice actually occurred. So if the malpractice occurred before today, then you have two options. Either you're not covered because the policy started today, or you can backdate the policy to cover previous negligence that is not known to you.
The retroactive cover.
That is the retroactive cover that, a lot of professions are now getting used to this kind of cover now.
And in the local market right now, what are the current developments?
What are the current developments? Yes, since the law came to effect, the cross-border EU directive in November 2013, we've seen, first of all, we've seen the business being divided locally and with medical unions abroad. Now, what's happening locally? Locally, we have the business being divided into scenarios. You have certain insurance companies that are taking all healthcare professionals under their hat, from physio to gynae, anything in between. There are insurance companies that will take everything from A to Z. Then there are insurers that are only opting to take up low-risk healthcare professionals. So when taking out a policy, one must see, am I going with an insurance company that is backing all my colleagues? Or is it just picking the ideal low-risk doctors? And I think that is something to take into consideration. Now, if we were to go abroad, what is happening? We are seeing that the Medical Protection Union or Medical Protection Society is currently withdrawing from the local market for whatever reason you can have, very often it falls on economies of scale, but whatever reason they may have. And we are seeing that healthcare professionals that had a viable scenario to take out cover abroad in the past year or two are now have to switch to a local insurer. And I think these are the most common developments at the moment, besides having various small associations that are negotiating insurance cover specifically for their own requirements. They can vary. In fact, there are variations from one healthcare consultant to another. I don't know, let's take pediatrics, for example. You could have a pediatrician that does surgery and one does not. So at the moment, the associations are working to organize different insurance covers for the same category in the healthcare profession.
According to their respective needs.
Yes.
Exactly.
And they are being catered for, yes.
And as you rightly mentioned, in 2013 there was this adoption of the EU directive, and it brought about certain legal requirements. As a healthcare professional, what minimum level of cover should one hold?
Okay, it is essential to underline that any healthcare professional that works in the private practice, specifically private practice, must have a professional indemnity insurance in place or an equivalent in bank guarantee. Now, these are the options that the law has set down. So, since 2013, to be on the Medical Council, you must have this insurance in place for private practice. Now, the law does not state the minimum level of cover that you require, if it's 50,000 or 1 million. There's absolutely no figures in the law, nothing. However, the law states that according to your area of practice, you should evaluate and see your exposure to decide what level of cover you require. So let me explain this in a different scenario. If you're working in geriatrics, I don't think you need a particular high level of cover. Why? Because awards in courts are based on the age of the patient till retirement, and in geriatrics your multiplier effect is nearly negligible. But on the other hand, if you're in pediatrics and you have kids, I mean, recently in the past months we've seen the court case in Gozo of the 14-year-old that was subject to 100% disability in a motor accident that achieved an award of 400,000 euros. Now, that award was calculated on the multiplier effect from the date that person can work till age 65, multiplied by only a minimum wage. So,
but the multiplier effect makes this.
So if you're seeing a lot of young people, high income earners, in case of negligence on these people, the award could be massive. If you're seeing elderly people, well, then with all respect, the awards will be on the lower end. Now, we do not recommend a level of cover below 250,000. Let's be clear on that. Having said that, there are various situations where healthcare professionals opt for lower cover, but various thankfully go for the minimum recommended cover. We recommend a minimum. I mean, if you want to go for lower, all well and good. But then there are others that are going for higher levels of cover, and I believe that as time goes by, as more awards develop in court, we will see that there is a requirement that the minimum level of cover should be revised higher. I mean, I would probably already be inclined to say that the minimum of 250,000 recommended 2 years ago should be revised. You know, but you have to
with
take
the current trends.
Yes, various aspects into consideration.
And nitpicking into a detail which may be of great significance, does it make a difference whether a healthcare professional is acting on behalf of patient's request or is working on behalf of a company when claiming insurance? Okay,
that's an interesting question, and there are various professionals, healthcare professionals, that are appointed to see a patient on behalf of a company. Now, you could be appointed by an insurance company. You could be appointed by your employer, large organizations. You could be appointed by your football team.
And in fact, there was a particular case.
And why am I mentioning a football team? Because as we were discussing before this session, there was a very interesting case in the courts in Manchester, where there was a football player, Michael Appleton, that was playing for West Bromwich, and he had a knee injury in his right knee. Well, in this, the case resulted that his physiotherapist, the club physiotherapist, referred him to a sports surgeon, a specialised sports surgeon that operated in his right knee. The result was that something went wrong, badly wrong. And in a nutshell, the player was awarded 1.5 million sterling because following the mistake in the surgery, he could not play anymore. In fact, the court calculated how many years he had left as playing professional football and awarded 1.5 million. Following this case, what happened? West Bromwich Union, that paid to get the footballer into their team, sued the surgeon. Why did it sue the surgeon? It sued the surgeon because the club had to pay the previous club to buy over Michael Appleton to play in their team.
Millions.
Yes, we're talking big money. Big money. What happened? The court decided that the club couldn't sue the doctor for the mistake because the relation of the doctor is doctor to the patient and no other relation. So this is a very interesting precedent in the courts in Manchester that decided that the relation of the doctor is solely towards the patient and nobody else. So although there is no particular case in the Maltese courts, today it is possible to quote an EU decision into the Maltese courts. Mm-hmm. So I think in another way, in a more complex way, I answered your question.
Exactly. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. England.
Thank you very much.
I hope that this session has helped to inform you about professional indemnity insurance and medical malpractice. We hope that you share this video with your professional colleagues and keep following us on the Synapse Facebook page.